I don't know if you're actually practicing your active listening skills or if you already had something in mind that you're just trying to get me to answer questions and trying to tie them to the idea that you had first.
Welcome to the Hobby Hangout with Asu and Dave. Thanks for joining us for a new episode of the podcast. And today we're going to be talking about how to get your significant other into tabletop wargaming.
You said interested.
Interested, sorry.
Yeah, that's one step
One step
before
at a time.
into.
How do you pique that initial interest? So I laid out a bunch of models here that you can feel free to pick up every now and then as we chat.
Okay.
Okay. But the idea here is to get you interested in it, and then sort of see where that leads to in the next steps.
Okay.
Now, just to be, I guess, clear, you did play Warhammer Fantasy, but that's been probably about...
Over 11 years ago? Because it
Probably,
was
yeah.
before our daughter was born.
Yeah, so it was over 11 years ago that you played. And at that time, I would say you were you were in the hobby. You were building, painting.
Mm-hmm.
You understood your army. You understood the rules behind your army. You built lists and played games amongst us, right? And I think you may have even played... Well, I know we played a game at one of our friends' house where we had like 4 or 5 people playing. I can't remember if you ever played in the stores. I think you did play in the tournament too, right?
Store. Yeah, the Hamilton store.
Okay, yeah.
I played, I think, with 2 people that I didn't know.
That's the core memory?
That's the core memory. There were people that I didn't know. Because even though I understood my army and everything, I still relied on you a lot on reminding me of certain things that I picked with my points. Or like at that point, it just, like it didn't sink into my brain to get, the attack and then having to roll for a wound after that, and then the other person gets a defense or whatever. So I knew that I had to roll, but I just didn't know what to roll, and so I think the other people didn't enjoy playing with me. So maybe that's why it's a core memory.
All right. Yeah, so then after that, obviously, maybe do you have a thought or a memory as to why it kind of just fell off, or?
Yeah, I just didn't have time for it, right?
Yeah, I assumed as much, but I figured, maybe ask if there's anything other specific.
And I mean, it's not like you. I think that for both of us, right? Like we had a kid now, and our priorities shifted. But I think that every individual is going to have different priorities, right? Yeah. For me, sleeping. I like to sleep. I like to sleep a lot of time, a lot of hours, which you don't. So that's already taking away from the 24 hours in a day. But then there's... You know what? I'm just going to hold it because this sweater is not... I'm just going to hold it here. I'm going to be weird and hold it.
Interview style.
Interview style, yeah. Well, then you put it on my face. No. It's going to be like the Dogman, the reporter. I'm going to put it right on my face.
I have an itch in my eye, but every time I scratch it, it burns. I think I still have some jalapeno on my hands. So.
Anyway, so I think that it's just about prioritizing what you wanted to do with a day. And back then, I don't think that we had necessarily the space to have one full table set up to do, a few turns or at least one turn every now and then. So it just kind of like, it got deprioritized. Yeah.
Do you remember whether or not you actually... did you actually enjoy playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly because I always won.
You did, yes.
Yeah, remember when we used to come here with your friend from university, when we used to come visit up here, and we used to get some games before our daughter, and his daughter was born. And I'm pretty sure it was like twice, and I beat him. Yeah. I was so proud of myself because I was new to it.
Okay. And yeah, to be fair, yeah, as obviously our life got more complex, I also myself I stopped playing. I think my main focus ended up just being painting for the most part, rather than playing. I'm trying to think, aside from the Hobby Kingdom, whether or not I guess I did play a couple of tournaments, but it wasn't a lot. And like between the tournaments that I participated, even then I wasn't playing regularly. It was just sort of going to a tournament every now and then. But yeah, for me, I still enjoyed the hobby. So looking at how we could sort of reintroduce this to you, because I know we've been talking about how do we potentially make this into a family activity, but I think before we do that, I want to make sure you're bought in and on board with it, right? Because if I'm the main driver, then and you're not having fun, it's not going to be as enjoyable with the kids either, right? So I want to try and get everybody in on it. Sort of for a new person, one of the things might be the figures or the models that drive interest. But if you're not even aware or looking for a tabletop wargaming, the odds of you stumbling across a model that you find interesting enough to look into what the game is, I think is like, those are long shots. I guess what I'm trying to say, like, you could go to like Michael's and see a model kit for a car, and that's not going to pique your interest, right? And if you go into a board game store and you see a model for She-Hulk, that's not going to pique your interest because you have no real idea of what it is behind it.
I will disagree with that. So I think when I got into Warhammer Fantasy, it was, just one activity to do together, right? Otherwise, if it was just like a random person being like, hey, you want to play this? I would have been like, no. So I was willing to at least take a look at the booklet that you gave me, where there were like different armies, right?
I guess maybe that's what I'm trying to verbalize. It's not so much the lore, but how do you introduce the concept of the universe before you even...
I don't even know what you mean with that.
Like what you're saying, the Warhammer Fantasy as a... Like, you don't know all the details of it, but that it exists as its own world, right? And then you start looking at the models.
I think that you will have shown me the fantasy and then the 40K version. And I don't think that you explained to me, or at least I don't remember like what the difference was between them. I think for me it was just about what looks exciting. And I think one of the times before you tried to get me into it, you were painting the Tyranids. Tyranids, is that how you say it? Yeah, okay. And then you let me paint one and ruin it. And so, I mean, it was interesting to see your models painted, because, I'm looking at some of these ones, for example, here, right? The ones that are not painted like these alien looking like, it's not interesting. But then I'm looking at the ones that are painted, except for the people. Anything human, I don't like. But any others that are somewhat painted, or even this one that is just like a prime, like you start seeing the details and you're like, wow, like look at all of this, right? It's not just a picture, because pictures are meant to make it, like they enhance them, right? Like they put the best pictures that they could take and whatnot to make it interesting to look at. But when you actually see a real model and that you can see all the details, that you can touch it, and you can see, like for example, you do a very good job painting, right? So seeing how it actually turns out and variations to how it was painted, for example, in a magazine, I think that's what makes me go, what is this thing, right? And actually pick it up and look at it. And I think for me, it's more about the visual. Is it something that I would enjoy painting, because I understand that it's part of the play, right? Like you gotta build it, you gotta put some dedication into it before you can actually play with it. So it has to be something that looks interesting to me.
Well, that's looking at painting, I guess, right? And the tangible aspect of painting the miniature and owning that miniature. What about, like, would you not want to know any mechanics of the game?
No.
Like, what if the game took 7 hours to play?
I mean, we know that at this point, right, we know that we have a certain limitation of playing time.
I meant more like if you were looking at this figure, wouldn't you want to know some things about the game before you actually
No.
even picked up the figure to paint it?
No.
No?
No. I'm just saying, like, there's limitations, right? As into, if you're saying that it's a 7-hour game and that it has to be played in one session, then yes, I want to know that, because then I'm going to say no. But if it's something that can be accommodated to our schedule, then I don't care.
Okay. What about games that would need, like, 5 to 10 models versus 200 models?
Then the budget comes in. Regardless of how many
Not
units.
even the budgets. Like, don't you think you would maybe get tired of that?
No.
Like the Tyranids, for example. One of the big things that I like about the Tyranids is the aspect there that they're considered what's called a swarm army.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're going to have tons of models. That also means that you're painting the same model over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, it's kind of like the Demonettes, right? I had a bunch of them, or like the little.
You didn't have that. That's not a swarm.
Okay, well.
you had a unit of Demonettes.
No, I have more than one.
You painted one unit of Demonettes. But yeah,
It's a big unit. I mean, it's not like I'm gonna be super excited and do it super fast, but I think that, again, because visually it looks. When I'm looking at it, right, like I have an idea in my mind of, oh, this is how I want it to look like. So I think that will be motivation enough for me to continue doing it. Mm-hmm. If it's too many of them, I will probably get tired and start doing a sloppy job. But sloppy job, sorry, saying that.
So.
Wait, does that have a different meaning?
I don't know.
It sounds weird. Okay, but yeah, I wouldn't do a very good job, probably. I wouldn't be as dedicated, but yeah, I'll finish it.
Okay. So is the advice then for me to just get tons of images of unique looking models?
Yeah.
And just bombard you with them until you find something you like?
Yeah, but just give me something that is painted. Because if you give me something great like that, then I just don't have a vision, right? It's easier for me to see how maybe you painted this particular model and be like, I would have chosen a different color for this, right? Mm-hmm. And then I see it in my mind, right? Whereas with this one...
What about gameplay, though? Maybe if we step to, like, board games, what kind of board games do you like?
I think it doesn't matter. I think it depends on the mood.
But do you not like... At least the impression I get lately is you do enjoy the aspect of like a campaign where you're uniquely growing your character and they're becoming more and more of not just a standard sheet of characteristics, right? Like you're adapting it and building it. Is that true or no?
I enjoy it. I wouldn't say that that's the only thing that I like.
No, not the only thing, but like, do you like that aspect?
Yeah.
Because the one thing that, again, not that they didn't exist, but when we used to play, like we obviously focused a lot on Games Workshop and the Warhammer Fantasy gameplay, but there's a lot of different types of games nowadays, and some of them are, and again, not that they didn't exist previously, but there's more of them where you're intended to sort of build a small squad, and as you play games, they actually change. So they acquire new equipment, they acquire new skills, almost like a campaign style game, but you're playing against just tabletop games. Mm-hmm. And they're sort of intended to be more of that narrative and campaign style. Do you think those type of tabletop games might interest you more than the general just build a list, fight, and then just build a different list?
I think if it was a board game, like I don't know what would be the difference between, like, let's say when we were playing Arcadia Quest, right? Versus some other tabletop game. Because part of what I'm thinking about is that I don't have the ability to come up with different strategies for the same thing, right? Because that's part of it, right? Like the strategy, and I want to understand, is my strategy working or not? So if you're introducing new equipment and whatnot, then like I can't try a new strategy because now I have different variables, right? And I wouldn't know if my decision is what is impacting the outcome of the game. Now there's like a bunch of other variables. And I like to have control. I like to know what's coming, like what I have available. So I'm not saying a no, but I think for me, what's most important is my strategy. Like that thinking process is more is something that I would enjoy more, like understanding, rather than gaining a bunch of stuff as we go. In a board game, I enjoy that. In a tabletop, I'm not sure.
The other thing that I guess is newer in a lot of the games nowadays is, if you think back to fantasy when we were playing, it was very, I would say, like static. Once you've created your army list and you're going into your games, you know what your units are, right? You know what you have available, and obviously depending on what's occurring, but you have that control over, I want to use this unit and I want to move that unit, sort of thing, right? Whereas a lot of newer games will introduce some level of randomness into that, where you have your units and you know what they have available to them, but they may not be all available to you to use when you want them to use them. So like Shatterpoint, right? You have your deck of cards where you're drawing, and you have a little bit of control where you can choose to put something aside and draw again, and then pull that in at a different time, but you don't have that control over, I'm going to use this character, then that character, and then that character, then that character, right? So they start playing with that. Like games and A Song of Ice and Fire, where you have your deck of cards where you may have a certain plan and you draw a certain card that might benefit you, and you're going to have to you may want to alter your tactics and who you're going to trigger. Do you think something like that would interest you?
No.
No?
No, because then again, it's taking away.
You're too old school?
Well, I want, like, the point of it for me is the strategy part, right? And
but
sure,
that is strategy.
It's no, I
me,
mean, yes, I understand the point where in real life you have situations that you have to adapt to, right? And how are you going to adapt?
That's the way I see it. Yeah, that it forces you. It actually forces more strategy.
But it's not real life.
No, I know that.
I
but
think
like from a tabletop game, for me, it actually forces more dynamic strategy versus, I guess, set strategies.
I don't know. I think, I mean, if you're playing always against the same person that has a particular army, and the army is always going to be the same, then yes, like it will get boring to some degree. And changing it up with something that you can't control, like neither of you, could be fun. But I really like having control over my strategy, of my situation. And like you already have the unknown of how the other person is going to react, like how they're going to take their turns, right? I don't need cards to do that. And I guess at the same time, I don't like the idea of cards. Like, I'm already moving a bunch of models. I don't need cards in my hand.
Not so much in your hand, but yeah.
I don't need cards in front of me.
I mean, a lot of those cards-based tabletop games, essentially, you don't have to write a list either, right? I don't know if you remember fantasy, like you have to write out your list, write out your stats, your equipment. So the idea is to get away from that.
But that was interesting, though. You're controlling.
So far, I've got find interesting models for you.
Control freak.
No, I find interesting models for you, and regardless, you just want to play Warhammer Fantasy and nothing else.
I'm open to other things.
Are you open to other things?
I am open to other things. I wouldn't want to spend money on them yet. Like,
well, we're not talking about that. This is all hypothetical.
No, because that's like back when you used to buy me models, I didn't had an idea of how much they cost, right? If I had known, I would have said, no, we're not going to get into this. So it really depends on how much is this going to cost us.
See, the reason I say that that's because technically, if we're just playing internal to us, you can just proxy, right? So I could say, this is a Space Marine, right? What really matters is the size of the base. But you're missing my
point. No, you're missing my point, because for me, it's having that model, right? Like, I don't have a very good imagination, so I need the help. I need to see the actual miniature so that I can imagine what's happening.
So you're saying that you would need the actual miniatures with the rules? I guess what I'm saying is, could you not proxy to learn the rules, and then if you like it, that's when you slowly start investing in?
No, because it's the miniature itself that makes it interesting. I don't care about the rules. I don't care what the game is about. I don't care about the theme. I care about that particular model.
Okay. So the goal here would be to drive a high level of interest so that you want to invest into it.
Yes. I mean, if we could, right? Like, we have to look at the budget. For now, we do have armies, and I do like my Timonettes. So if you find something for which I could use my Timonettes as a proxy, then I'm fine with that.
Yeah, you can use them for anything. But yeah, what about the idea of like rank and file, right? So you have your units versus more skirmish individual. Do you have a preference for that? Like, do you like to see your blocks of armies or individual people?
It depends, right? Like, going back to fantasy, I used to like my big guys, right? Especially when they have like flying abilities and stuff like that. But I also like how imposing an army of Demonettes or the Bloodletters could look. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. As long as the miniatures are something that I want to look at and that I'm proud of the job that I did painting them, then that's all that really matters.
So then, what about genres? Because, again, the world is a different place now. There's so much selection, right? So it's no longer just fantasy and science fiction, where, you know, it's traditional, you know, orcs, goblins, demons, and space marines and aliens, right? There are horror-based tabletop games. There are, I think I told you about like the Japanese style one where you have geisha and samurai and things like that versus Japanese style demons and ghosts and things like that, and you're going hunting. They have like modern, like Call of Duty essentially, modern warfare style games. I think it's called like Breacher and things like that, where you've got your squad of units and you have your tabletop games. So they're very much focused around like Call of Duty, modern time frame. They have kind of like modern space, so not so much like futuristic space, but like I think it's called lunar is one of them, where you're like on the moon. You have different countries, I think they are, and you're trying to gain objectives on lunar bases and things like that. But it's not. I don't think it's like flamers and lasers and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things out there, and even in the fantasy space, there's things. The new one called Trench Crusade, which is like, it's supposed to be, I think, World War I or World War II, saying that I think hell opened up during that time. So now it's like there's kind of like that time frame of like knights and guns, but also like demons and monsters. And it's intended to be with trenches on gaming tables. So there's so many different options. Obviously, there's Star Wars and Song of Ice and Fire, Marvel Crisis Protocol.
What was the question?
The genre, like, so like comic book, you know.
No, not comics. I think that it depends on the purpose. I like killing the enemy. I don't care much about...
You like killing them with a sword.
Yeah, definitely not guns. I don't like guns.
Okay.
doesn't have to be with a sword, right? Like you could have bow and arrows, right?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I meant more so like gun versus like...
Yeah, so definitely not guns.
Did the Call of Duty one pique your interest? Your face changed when I said that one.
No,
Okay.
it didn't. Because it just feels like real life, right? Or like
Yeah.
very much like a video game. So why would I dedicate time playing a tabletop game that is going to require a lot of investment from the building to the playing, where instead I could just play 15 minutes, right, on the screen. So no, I wouldn't. I think that it has to be something where it's unique. Like it's not, you're not gonna find it in a video game. You're not gonna find it in history books. Yeah, I wouldn't like war. Nah. Even if there's demons in there, not really. And definitely not anything that is very human. Like if the other person picks a human army, that's fine. But I like to stay away from humans. In real, literally and figuratively.
There's one I think called Turnip something where there's like turnip-shaped people.
What? No.
It's not human.
Well, no, but remember, the visual is what matters. So yes, definitely not human, but also it has to be something interesting, right?
Well, people find those miniatures interesting.
I don't think that I would find them interesting. Like it has to be something that I want to kill with. I want to kill other armies with.
Okay. So you don't. Maybe that's a good call out then. You want to play the game to the death. You don't want to play a game where you're going for objectives.
No.
And trying to fulfill goals and things like that.
Yeah, no, because I remember we did that with. There was like some sort of map that we were.
That was Marvel
following.
Crisis Protocol.
What? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, but I do remember that we had to do objectives, and that just didn't feel as exciting to me.
I mean, you can still kill in those
I
games.
know that, but that's not the main purpose.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much.
So you don't like the games where it's too, like it's okay if that there's objectives there.
Mm-hmm. But not where the main objective is to accomplish the objectives.
I mean, the main way to win the game is through accomplishing objectives.
Yeah, because then what happens is that, so let's say that I'm playing against you, right? And maybe your strategy is to go for the objectives, but my strategy is to kill all of your units, right?
So you just don't want to alter your strategy.
Well, because if you're going to go for the objectives, then I'm going to be just chasing you around, right? Rather than...
Or change your your strategy.
Well, I don't want to be chasing objectives.
No, change your strategy.
Yeah, to what?
To win the game.
But I just want to just have head-on combat. Like, I just want to go for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't want to be chasing you, and I don't want to be chasing objectives. I just want it to be a common understanding that you have to kill me and I have to kill you.
Mm-hmm. What about having, I think I know the answer, but having models or armies painted for you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. No, get out of here with that.
Yeah.
You want it to be your own, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What about building the army for you?
I wouldn't mind the help, but I think that I still...
You still enjoy the building aspect, or do you not?
Yeah,
like
I mean, it was hard because I don't have that dexterity to do it, right? Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't say that I like modifying things because, again, like I'm not proficient enough at it to start thinking about modifications. And then if I need to clean them, that part was not very enjoyable. But yeah, no, I don't mind it.
Okay.
I don't mind it, but I think that I still want to have some input. Like I don't want it to be completely done for me. I like cutting pieces of the... What is it called?
The sprue?
The sprue, yeah.
Okay. What about a game where you can still fight and try and kill, but you're playing against the game versus against the other person?
So it's...
The players are cooperative.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I think. But what am I, like if it's against the game, am I still killing something?
Yeah, so the one I'm talking about is Don't Look Back. So it's a horror themed game.
Okay.
Where there's always it's based off of horror movies, right? So you select a monster, and everyone else are players in the game, and you're essentially trying to kill that guy or get out of there or escape something.
That sounds like what we wanted to create, the game that we wanted to create with our friends.
Similar, yeah, but this is a tabletop version of it, right? So one of the players around the table isn't directly controlling the monster on the table.
Okay.
Everyone's got a character.
So it just feels like Massive Darkness.
It's more complex than that, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoy that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think another one might be called like the horror or something like that, where it's more like a space monster versus a horror movie monster. But yeah.
I don't like the space stuff that much.
No. Okay.
Yeah. No.
No. What about video game themed ones?
No, because that's what I was saying, right? Like, if there's a video game where you are provided with the graphics and stuff like that, because we talked about this in a different episode, right? Where I like to be given enough information to imagine what's happening, whereas for you like to like make everything in your mind, right? So for me, the video game, like I already see what's happening, and I don't have to. My brain doesn't have to try to create something that looks interesting to me, right?
Yeah.
I'm just seeing it. If it's interesting, then I keep going. If it's not, then I just drop it. So if there's already a video game for it that I could play for 10 minutes rather than a 7-hour game, then I'm gonna go for the 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, that was a bad example for the times. Like, I'm not saying the games are 10 minutes, but yeah.
No, like in video games, you can play for 10 minutes and you probably get somewhere, right? You save it, you leave it, you come back.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like games like, there's definitely several video game style ones that I guess you wouldn't be interested in then. Okay.
I mean, if you don't tell me that it's from a video game, and if I haven't heard of the video game, who knows? Maybe.
What about robots?
No.
Not into robots?
No.
Okay. I know there's several like robot-based ones. What about like vehicles? Because there's like spaceship ones. There's boats. Tabletop gaming. Gaslands technically is tabletop gaming.
I mean, that one's fun, but nah.
Wouldn't be interested in that?
No.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to play Gaslands with the kids one time, then that's fine, but it's not something that I would.
No, I mean, like we've played the game, but we never treated it as a tabletop game, right?
Yeah.
So the tabletop game is like, you're supposed to build your roster, essentially. Mm-hmm. So you have a certain amount of points. You can pick different types of vehicles. They have different stats. You can pick different weapons. The idea is to get Hot Wheels and like stick guns on them and things like that, right? So that.
But I said no guns. I don't like guns.
Yeah, that's all right. That wouldn't interest you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I think we've narrowed it down to fantasy then.
We're narrowed down to back to the beginning.
Back where we started. So then there's, aside from the big sized units, there is obviously like Relic Blade that we played the other day. Mm-hmm. That's a smaller scale game. There's the other one, Moonstone, that I wanted to show you. Now they're not killing games though, right? I mean, the point was to get the gold. And
for Relic Blade?
For Relic Blade, yeah.
No, you needed to kill, for more points, you needed to
kill. For more points, yes.
Yeah. I'm going for the more points, come on.
And like Moonstone is about collecting moonstones. And you can still fight and kill each other. Mm-hmm. But the objective of the game is to get the most moonstones.
Okay, but my strategy is to get rid of the other ones first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I will have to try it. But that's not the most interesting. Like, that's not what interests me the most.
So people like this, no?
So who are these from? The Dragon. Forgot.
A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah. So no, because they're humans.
They are humans, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this guy.
It's a vampire. It's not a human.
Yeah, that's why I like it because it's not human. Where is this from? It's from the Song of Ice and Fire too, right?
No.
No?
No.
Where is this from?
That's from, that's Games Workshop. That's fantasy.
Oh, that's why I like it then. Yeah, like this one, for example, the She-Hulk. It looks super cool how you painted it. But it's not calling me like to play with it.
What are these ones? No.
They're okay. Where do these come from?
Star Wars. Just saying the word
It
Star
remi-
Wars makes you know. I don't want it.
No, it reminds me of the miniatures from, was it Zombicide? Because they have guns.
Yeah, they have guns.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't like that robot. Wait, is that Groot?
No,
Oh, wait. What is that?
it's a
What is
bat
that?
person.
Yeah, but see, so that's the other thing, right? Like, these are character-based. So there will have to be enough characters that I like for me to... Unless it's just like one
There are
character.
fewer characters too, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so if there's enough characters that I'm interested in, then sure, I could play this. But like when we were looking at was it the Avengers game?
Mm-hmm. No, Marvel Crisis.
Yeah, that one. Like there were not that many, right, for me to choose from that I liked.
From that I own. I guess that's to be fair, because I didn't show you
Oh,
the
okay.
catalog of characters, right? There's
Oh,
a lot
okay.
of characters. But
Yeah.
yeah. Actually, one aspect that I didn't touch on, what about sports?
No.
No, because there's like Blood Bowl, something else ball. I can't remember what it's called now. But in those games, I think you are killing each other, but like it's sports based where you're trying to get the ball from one side to the other.
No, because it's like, for me, I like playing sports.
No, they are fantasy. Sorry, they are fantasy based.
I know, but like when it comes to sports, I like doing it. I don't like watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And much less imagining with a miniature. That's not.
Okay.
Where's this guy from?
Fantasy.
Games Workshop?
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Let's stay loyal to Games Workshop then. Look no more.
Well, I mean, miniature-wise, that's one thing, right? Because a lot of the again, nowadays, I don't think you need to stick to the game the models come from.
Yeah.
So even if you like the Games Workshop models, you can still use them in other games.
Yeah.
So if we're getting into fantasy, I think we've kind of narrowed it down to probably going back to the old Warhammer Fantasy rules. There is the new Warhammer Fantasy rules that I haven't read, but they exist now, called Warhammer Old World.
Okay.
There's the newer Age of Sigmar. That's the new rule set, where it's fantasy models, but they're skirmish based, so they're circular. They don't have the big trays.
Okay.
So your models are moving like that. There is Kings of War. So that's where your models stay all together. Mm-hmm. And essentially the whole unit breaks at some point. Versus, remember Warhammer where you were taking models off?
Yeah.
So in this game, you don't take models off. The unit stays there until they hit a point and they just break and get destroyed. There is Conquest, which I guess that would probably be harder to proxy because their models are a slightly bigger scale. They have a very unique flavor on their miniatures. I personally don't like their miniatures. I've looked at them a couple of times and they just don't appeal to me. But they are a fantasy-based world as well. So those could be some of the systems that we look at. There's the one-page rules that I was telling you. So again, intended to be miniature agnostic, and you can pick your own miniatures. And I would say it's a simplified similar to Warhammer Fantasy or Kings of War. It's just more simplified rule set.
I mean, kind of the what we're running into too is that because I got introduced to the Warhammer Fantasy, that's the only thing that I know, right?
Yeah.
And so it was so hard to understand the rules that maybe I'm just in my comfort zone, right? And I don't want to explore something else. Again, the models are still my top priority, how they look like. If you do have models from certain games or that we can leverage for certain games, and I'm up for trying it, which I don't think, like from people that are watching, right? Maybe their significant others haven't actually tried it ever, right? And so it might be a different perspective for them on how open they are to trying it, right?
So it's almost a certainty that anyone that plays this has a pile of shame, that has more miniatures that they painted and more miniatures than they play with. That's almost a certainty. So to your point, sort of the first avenue may be what in your collection piques their interest or that they would find appealing.
Yeah.
Would be one of the first steps before we even get into rules or how the games play. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And understanding whether they are looking to have as much input or investment in creating them, because then maybe they will enjoy having something painted, right, for them. That might make it more interesting for them if they're playing with a painted or a finished miniature.
But to get them in the hobby.
Well, that's my point, right? Like some of them might not want to get in the hobby. Some of them might just want to experience the playtime. The gameplay.
The gameplay? True. But I think to your earlier comment, that shouldn't be the first approach, right? Like I shouldn't pick a miniature and paint it with the objective of saying, hey, you want to play this game? Versus this is what I have available. Do any of these interest you? And would you be interested in painting it with me? Yeah. Right? I think because to me, all of that ends up just creating quality time together.
Yeah, but I think that the most important takeaway is you gotta ask.
Yeah.
Don't assume.
Yeah. Absolutely. I agree. And then maybe you get another player inside the house.
What do you mean?
Yeah, if they buy in and they enjoy it.
Oh.
Because to me, that's. I
thought you meant like a third person.
the individual that enjoys the hobby at home. That's just a win for them, right? Because now they have someone they can play with. Again, obviously you need to make time for it, but they have someone who's available to play with them in their house without having to travel somewhere.
Carry everything.
Yeah, exactly. That's the ultimate goal there.
Yeah. And, if you have the space available, which is something that we have done with other games, is that you leave it there, right, for whenever you have the time.
Yeah.
And you come and take a turn or 2 turns. But it's easily available, right, without having even to commute or anything like that.
Exactly,
yeah.
All right. So that gives me some things to work off of.
I guess we'll have to provide an update on whether what you think the suggestion should be.
What we will get into.
No, it depends. Let's see I don't know if you're actually if you're practicing your active listening skills, or if you already had something in mind that you're just trying to get me to answer questions and trying to tie them to the idea that you had first.
No. I guess what I'm saying is I think we will get to play.
Yeah. Something.
A game, yes.
Something, yeah.
I just don't know which game, but I'm confident that we will get to have a tabletop game that we enjoy playing together again. I am confident in that. Okay. We'll find something.
Well, we'll come back with an update to see if that happened.
Absolutely. All right.
And so hopefully some of these questions can help you ask questions to your significant other.
Yeah. Help some gamers out there get an additional player within their household so that you can get more games in and not just collect miniatures.
And someone else to get through your pile of shame.
Or grow your pile of shame.
There's gonna be 2 piles of shame now.
Exactly.
But
Well,
you're in it together.
You have different tastes, right?
So?
Yeah.
You don't want me to taste?
No, the pile of shame that I collect won't appeal to you.
Oh,
so you're not
okay.
gonna paint my pile of shame.
I thought you meant that you didn't want me touching your pile of shame.
No. I mean, my collection of big bugs, you're not gonna touch, right? You have no interest in painting them.
Yeah, I don't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes then.
Yeah. Stay tuned for some updates.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.